Picture this, right? It's morning. A morning that probably feels a little too familiar. You hit snooze, maybe 3 times. You finally wake up, but before your feet even touch the floor, you're already doom scrolling on your phone. And almost instantly, you get that sinking, sickening feeling in your gut as you look at influencers, celebrities, these false digital idols. Because deep down, you just know you are smarter, more creative, and more capable than them. Yet, here you are, literally trapped in your blankets. Well, today we are unpacking exactly why this happens based on some incredible source material and, way more importantly, how you can actually escape it.
So, you finally emerge from the blankets to greet the day, coffee in hand, fully intending to get some real work done. But instead, you get completely swept up in a carousel of procrastination. We're talking video games, texting friends, taking a random long nap. It all just turns into this fast-paced, dissociative blur. And by the time the evening light starts trickling in, you're hit with this overwhelming sense of total inadequacy. You feel like an artist without art, right? Just this raw talent waiting to be discovered. Basically, you're just existing, holding your breath, waiting for that magical day when you'll finally grow up.
Okay, let's dive into this, because psychology actually has a very specific name for this condition. It's called the pure eternus. This is a psychological archetype identified by the legendary Carl Jung, and you've probably heard it referred to as the eternal child, or maybe Peter Pan syndrome. Now, to be clear, this isn't just about, liking cartoons as an adult. No, this is a deep-seated, stubborn refusal to commit. It acts as a massive defense mechanism to help people totally avoid the gritty actualities of human existence. We're talking about dodging responsibility, failure, disappointment, and ultimately our own mortality.
Carl Jung actually had a really famous way of putting this. He said, they live the provisional life where one does not exist, really. They are only a spectator. So what does that mean for you? Well, when you outright refuse to commit to anything, your experiences become almost ghost-like. Everything stays perfectly abstract. You're deliberately avoiding taking aim or setting a real, tangible target for your life. Because think about it. If you actually aim at something, you risk missing it, right? You risk proving your own inadequacy. So instead, you just safely watch the whole thing from the sidelines.
You see, there's a really stark contrast between simply existing and truly living. The eternal child looks out at the grounded, realized world of actuality, the daily rat race, and they genuinely find it beneath them. They'd much rather stay in that ghost-like realm of pure, untouched potential. They evade stable work, they dodge stable housing, and they run from real relationships, literally even when those things are handed to them on a silver platter. For the eternal child, it is vastly preferable to die full of potential, rather than risk finding out what their potential actually amounts to in the real world.
And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates exactly why potential is such a dangerous trap. What we're looking at here represents the poet Sylvia Plath's incredibly famous metaphor of the fig tree. The idea is that when we're young, the world offers us this absolute abundance of choices. Every single option, new lovers, different friends, countries to explore, thrilling careers, each one represents a plump, beautiful, ripe fig sitting right there on the tree of life.
But staring up at all those amazing choices leads us straight into the seduction of the shade. What actually happens to the eternal child here? Well, they sit down in the shade of the fig tree and they literally starve to death because they just cannot bring themselves to choose. Picking one single path feels like a total surrender. It feels like surrendering to aging, to limitation, to inevitable disappointment. And this is exactly why so many 20 and 30-somethings find themselves romantically obsessing over what could be. They highly prefer the illusion of wandering over the hard finality of what actually is.
But we have to clarify the real heartbreaking tragedy of the eternal child here, which really just boils down to one harsh truth. It's not because they can't, it's because they won't. Let's be clear, these aren't people lacking talent, not at all. In fact, many are incredibly gifted, super creative, highly intelligent people. They were probably the best in their class, getting praised constantly when they were kids. But those early competencies, they eventually fall short in the adult world. So rather than putting themselves out there, facing the challenge of making mistakes and having to learn something new, they just resign themselves to the world of potentiality. They sit back and tell themselves, I could have been a great writer.
So, where do they go instead? They escape to Neverland. To numb those lingering twilight callings of something greater, they'll often turn to heavy distractions, things like drugs, alcohol, or even super high adrenaline ventures. And here is the kicker. They almost never do it alone. They form this merry band of misfits. They surround themselves with other adult children, essentially building a giant echo chamber of enablers. They completely romanticize the wandering vagabond lifestyle just to mutually justify remaining totally petrified, together. Because think about it, if just one of them actually succeeds and grows up, it immediately proves the rest of them are just hiding.
And this deep disdain for actuality absolutely poisons their romantic lives too. The eternal child is an absolute master at jumping ship. I mean, they will deliberately sabotage a perfectly good, growing relationship using the pettiest excuses imaginable. Oh, she snores, or he lives too far away. Because spending too many days together means this person might actually be the one, and committing to them, well, that means the end of their boundless potential. So they heavily favor the short-lived, superficial distance of modern dating apps, just slowly fading away to preserve their endless safe options.
The path to integration, embracing the normal and taking the plunge.
Okay, so how do we actually shift gears from this agonizing, paralyzing trap of endless potential and move toward an actionable, grounded life? First, you absolutely must recognize the either-or fallacy. The eternal child mistakenly believes that growing up automatically means losing their vitality and their creativity. But guys, that is completely false. Second, you need to strive for integration, meaning you merge that awesome youthful energy with actual adult discipline. Third, you embrace the normal. And fourth, you take responsibility. Growing up does not mean your potential dies, it means your potential finally gets a chance to live.
This crucial turning point is captured so beautifully by this concept from our sources. Maturity, commitment, and responsibility can become guardians for your dreams and values. I really, really want you to take this to heart. Committing to a real, tangible path in reality is absolutely not the executioner of your dreams, it is actually their ultimate protector. Because without commitment, your dreams are literally just vapor. With commitment, they suddenly have a fortress.
But actually doing this requires what is called the courage to be normal. We really need to strip away all that cinematic romanticism for a second. What does normal actually look like in practice? Well, it looks like riding the bus. It looks like dragging yourself to night classes when you are completely exhausted. It looks like working a shift at the grocery store. True growth does not happen while you're sitting around in your bedroom waiting to be cast as the main character in some movie. It happens right there in the deeply unglamorous, super mundane reality of everyday effort.
Let's just contrast these two worlds for a second. On one side, you have the isolating comfort of the shade of the fig tree, that endless, paralyzing choice we talked about. Sure, it feels safe, but you are literally starving. On the other side, you have the heat of the crowd. This is actuality. Yes, it absolutely involves the maddening loudness of traffic. Yes, it involves dealing with super annoyed emails from your boss. It is gritty, it is frustrating. But it is also where life actually happens, and it is incredibly rewarding simply because it is real.
Now, immersing yourself in the heat of the crowd requires a pretty major psychological shift. You have to start extracting your ego from the mission. You see, the eternal child constantly operates from this place of ego. Oh, I am way too special for this normal job. But embracing society means recognizing that there are things far, far larger and way more important than your own ego and your own cozy comfort zone. You have to be willing to be a beginner again, to look totally foolish and to serve a purpose outside of just yourself.
And hey, if you're looking for a purpose, just look at the world around us right now. Our source material outlines these massive 21st century callings perfectly. As a species, we are currently facing some incredibly daunting emerging threats. We're talking everything from ecological collapse, to the rise of political extremism across the entire spectrum, to vastly widening wealth inequality. Regardless of where you personally stand on any of these issues, they objectively require massive active participation, really creative thinking, and just plain hard work to solve. The world doesn't need more people sitting comfortably in the shade, it desperately needs people engaged in the actual work, even if that work is far from glamorous.
So, I want you to take a second and genuinely ask yourself right now, what do you actually care about? Beyond the surface-level doom scrolling, beyond all the thick layers of irony, beyond the temporary anesthetic of video games or endless dating apps, what actually matters to you? Let's take it a step deeper. What do you want out of this life? Because just waiting around in the provisional life, just existing as a spectator on the sidelines, is a strategy that mathematically leads absolutely nowhere. Time is passing you by whether you choose to pick a fig off that tree or not.
And here's the starkest, most grounding reality you are probably going to hear today. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to live your life for you. The economy isn't going to suddenly hand you absolute certainty tomorrow, and some magical mentor isn't going to knock on your front door to suddenly discover your hidden genius. You have to become the captain of your own fate. Self-initiation is the absolute only way out of the stagnation.
You've danced along the surface of life for long enough, haven't you? The illusion of endless potential is a trap, and it will keep you frozen until it's simply too late.
It is time to step out of the shade of that fig tree, walk boldly into the heat of the crowd, and finally engage with actuality. Will it be perfect? No. Will you make mistakes? Absolutely. But that is the entire beauty of actually living. So, the final question is,
Picture this.